everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you could only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of the Major Issues podcast brought to you by ComicBook Clique. And as you know, I am never alone. Sir, introduce yourself.
I am Dan, the Comic Man, ladies and gentlemen.
We got Dan, the Comic Man, back in studio.
It feels great to be back.
Oh, this is a momentous episode because we are going to be tackling the Merc with the Mouth, the winner of the 2016 CBC Award for Best Debut.
Captain Deadpool!
Yeah,
Nah,
Deadpool.
just Deadpool.
Just Deadpool. The Merc with the Mouth who has a sequel on deck, which we'll have a full review of on the next episode of Major Issues. But this one, we decided to do a little background for the Merc with the Mouth, for Wade Wilson, for Deadpool, to kind of refresh our memories about this character, the direction that they were going in the previous film, and where we think he's going to end up in the next. We did some trailer talk last week, dissecting the Deadpool trailer. And a little tidbit that I forgot about, I will also include in this podcast about the Deadpool trailer as far as speculation is concerned. But then, what is your history with the Merc with the Mouth? Are you a fan of Deadpool?
Well, listen, I thought before we even start this whole thing, I just want to let everybody in comic book land out there know that we have lost a great person, a great actress. Margot Kidder passed away today at around 12:30 p.m. afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
Our Lois Lane from the Richard Donner Supermans, and I just thought I'd let everybody know that I want to pay my respects to her.
You know, we usually do these episodes earlier on in the week to make sure that we have enough clearance to have them out every Wednesday for you clickers at home. But this one we decided to do a little bit later, and for good reason, not for good reason, but we lucked out because we do get to pay our respects to Margot Kidder, who did pass away today, Monday, the 14th, which is when this is being recorded. Margot Kidder is my favorite Lois Lane.
My favorite Lois Lane,
I have been on record.
She is our Lois Lane. That's why I've been saying it lately. She is our Lois Lane.
I've heard, she's had her battles with, everything.
Same for Carrie Fisher. They both went down like the same road.
But when I think of Lois Lane, I think of the hard drinking, hard smoking, Pulitzer Prize winning reporter, the one who doesn't take no for an answer, the one that bosses Perry White around, the one that in Superman 2 figures out that Clark Kent is Superman right off the bat, gets it, figures that out. Her appearance obviously started to dwindle over the years because of all her problems and her demons, but now she finally rests, and I just wanted to pay my respects. I do believe that she is the best Lois Lane, at least live action is concerned, and she's gonna have some big shoes to fill. I don't really think Amy Adams is doing it right now.
I've actually tried to like Amy Adams, but I just can't.
I just wish Amy was more Margot, in the sense of knowing that you are of value to the Daily Planet, knowing that you're not taking no for an answer, and just a little bit more rough around the edges.
Don't get me wrong, she is a great, as far as the role goes, the way the actress plays her, she plays a very confident, very strong-willed Lois,
Yeah.
But it's just when I think of Lois, I don't think of someone who can match Superman in manly wits. I think of someone who's there to just keep him humanized.
Yeah.
And Margot Kidder did an amazing job by keeping Superman humanized.
Right. And, she rests now. And so we would like to pay our respects to Miss Kidder. What a life led. What a character played. May you rest in peace. Now, from that little gloomy segue, we go back on.
Yeah, let's get happy.
Let's get back to joking. Let's break we're breaking all the fourth walls. Let's break 16 walls like Deadpool did in his film by giving a little backstory. I'll go ahead and I'll say that I have been following Deadpool for quite some time, but I never really followed his issue-to-issue run. I grabbed almost every side book that the guy had. And with titles like Deadpool kills Deadpool, or Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, or Deadpool versus Thanos, or
Deadpool Killustrated,
Deadpool versus Carnage. These titles and some of these covers were so extraordinary that you had to read them just on pure curiosity. And the first thing that you realize when you are tackling a Deadpool comic is that this guy has a very unique voice. And when they talk about voice in comic, they just mean how the character speaks, how he thinks, what's going on in his head. And what ends up happening a lot of times is, these characters get handed from creative to creative team, and I don't really feel like Deadpool ever lost his voice. Depending on, regardless of who was writing for him, he was always
No, they
smart
always
aleck and
kept true to who Deadpool was. Doesn't matter who the writers or not produce, whoever the writers and illustrators were. They always managed to make sure that he was the merc with the mouth. They always managed to make sure that he was witty. He broke the fourth wall. He would literally. There's a panel I remember. I'll never forget it. There was literally a panel where he opens the comic book of his own comic book and says, "Just skip to the end. You're not gonna really care about this." Like that stuff
Right.
is great, and that's why I've always liked Deadpool as a character, but I didn't know too much about him. And it wasn't until someone sat me down and said, "Here's my copy of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe in full. Read it." And I tell you, when I read Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, I fell in love with this character. It was great. There's fourth wall breaking, and then there's Deadpool literally killing his own creators.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
pretty
spoiler
big
alert,
Yeah.
at the end of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, he literally goes into Swamp Thing and transfers into the real world, where
Yeah.
he ends up at the last panel walking, like, about to kill his own writers
His own
and
writers.
illustrators.
That was Man Thing, I believe, because Swamp is old DC.
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
Man Thing, Swamp Thing.
he takes on Taskmaster in that. He fights Spider-Man. He fights the Fantastic Four. I won't give too many spoilers out there
No,
because that's
this is a
definitely,
comic you have to read.
Yes, that's definitely one of the reading recommendations as far as Deadpool is concerned. If you don't know anything about, well, you've seen the movie. Everyone's seen the movie. But if you don't have a comic book background on Deadpool, it's definitely one of the comics you can grab because it's non-canonical, meaning it doesn't take place in the actual 616 universe because all these characters are alive.
But it does lead into Deadpool Illustrated, and then Deadpool Kills Deadpool. It's like
right, which is called the Trilogy.
I think
the
the
Trilogy, I think it's called.
But and definitely read the Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe first. But if you happen to stumble upon a Deadpool Illustrated, I highly suggest it. It's basically just Deadpool going into different literature like Charles Dickens books and Mark Twain books, and killing famous characters like Captain Ahab and what's his name? The kid that does the painting. I'm trying to remember his name.
Which kid?
Huckleberry Finn
there
and Tom
you go.
Sawyer. He ends
Yeah.
up killing Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. But I don't want to give too much away. Just Deadpool Illustrated, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe needs to be read if you're not a Deadpool fan yet.
I also am a humongous fan of the Deadpool game. I played the Deadpool game. I've beaten it several times. That's not a bragging thing. I just mean to say that I enjoyed it so much that I played it several times. Constant fourth wall breaks in there. A lot of fun with Cable. A lot of fun with those X-Men characters. And that's the thing about Deadpool is that you can literally drop him in any backdrop, an Avengers backdrop, an X-Men backdrop, which is more his style. But literally put him on any team and he's gonna produce. I think he does join the Uncanny Avengers eventually, which goes to show how many teams have sported good old Wade Wilson on it.
Deadpool has been honestly if not all, a lot of the Marvel teams in comic books. He's been a part of the X-Men. He's been a part of the X-Force or the X-Factor, whichever one they're called.
Yeah, right.
He's been a part. He's been a part of Avengers and Uncanny or not, doesn't matter. Like, so this is a guy that you don't particularly want to work with, but you have to work with.
Yeah.
Remember, Taskmaster, one of my favorite villains, can memorize your fight patterns. He knows how you move. He can't fight Deadpool to save his life.
Yeah, because he's too unpredictable.
He has said that Deadpool is unpredictable.
When we when we talk about Deadpool, a lot of it, like I said again, it is his fourth wall breaking. It is his sometimes adult jokes, adult humor. A lot of his aspects of his character, his history, his supporting characters is pretty dark. That's something that they've never shied away from in the comics. But then we got, inklings, rumors, whispers that they might be considering doing a Deadpool film. And prior to that, the only Deadpool we had gotten was Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine, and that's not the greatest comic book movie. What was your impression of Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine? I remember watching the film. I remember remembering Deadpool, and then you see those blades come out of his hands. This single. I guess they're supposed to replicate his katanas, but like Wolverine,
he looked like a Baraka with no mouth.
Yeah, I think that it was supposed to be his katanas, but literally, just a single blade comes out of both of his hands, and they sewed his mouth shut. And I remember thinking, and he has like chemical burns on his eyes to
look like a
replicate the
mask.
black
Yeah.
stuff in the mask. It was very weird, and I kept thinking like, oh well, we lived in a world, especially that world then, where a lot of the comic book properties were taking liberties with these characters and converting them to movie friendly characters, I guess you
Yeah,
would
but if
say.
you're gonna cast someone to play Wade Wilson in your movie, don't sew his mouth shut.
Yeah.
I will forgive the burns on his eyes to look like his mask. I will forgive the katanas coming out and the teleporter. The only reason why I will actually forgive the teleporter is because he has one in his utility belt.
Yes.
So I will forgive stuff like
What
that.
about the laser eyes? Laser eye Deadpool.
I mean, there's a lot of different Deadpools out there. There's a pig Deadpool in the comics. There's a girl Deadpool. You know, like so.
You know, now that you mention all of that, I wonder if they've ever considered having the
Deadpool family?
Barakapool appear in one of the comics as an alternate version of Deadpool.
I've seen a lot of fan art
Of Barakapool.
of Barakapool with the Deadpool from of the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think they should do something like that because if they still have the Deadpool family, so just bring us like bring us the Barakapool, but make it like a little one-off joke. Like no, you stay back there.
Yeah.
You're the outcast. We don't like you.
I have a shirt with Barakapool and the real Deadpool behind him, giving him the bunny ears, like they're taking a picture. I had to get it, and yeah. So we start to think like, well, we've seen Deadpool. What could we possibly get from a Deadpool feature film? Especially if it's from the same studio that gave us X-Men Origins Wolverine. A lot of people started to wonder if the Deadpool movie would be good at all. And the only thing that we had gotten tipped off to was a piece of experimental test footage.
Which was actually directed by Tim Miller. So I personally think Tim Miller released that footage.
Yeah, the rumor goes that Ryan Reynolds, after the failed X-Men Origins Wolverine and his portrayal of Deadpool, he still really wanted to play that character, and he still was very much, trying to go forward with a solo Deadpool project, but studios weren't buying it. And Deadpool is kind of a hostile property when you consider.
Oh, this is a rated R comic book movie. Like, how are we supposed to get kids to see this?
Exactly, and
still
that's where the money
how
comes,
are we?
right?
How are kids not supposed to see this, and we still make our money?
Exactly.
Kids are the main demographic of ticket sales.
And I mean, I'll say it even though you're not a humongous fan of it, but we don't even get something like Logan without Deadpool. Because the idea of the R-rated superhero film that wasn't about vampires, or
Spawn,
like that, didn't exist. And so you have Ryan Reynolds with the strength of just fan support. The test footage leaks, quote unquote, and majority of it is the highway scene that we
just
see
that whole
in
opening.
the beginning of the Deadpool film. Which I'm glad they kept that in as kind of a homage.
Because when I saw that in the trailer, I was like, yes, they really kept the test footage.
Right, and it made you feel like you saw part of the movie before seeing the movie. It made...
And it was Ryan Reynolds' joke. It was Ryan Reynolds' voice, and the jokes were hilarious.
Yeah, they were.
Crime's the disease, meet the cure.
Yeah, I am... he says I'm Deadpool in Spanish, which I forget.
Oh, yeah, he's like, hola, me llamo something, however you say pool. And he says pool of the dead.
Yeah, all my Spanish listeners right now are cursing me out for not.
Oh, especially
knowing
me.
The pronunciation.
I know muerte is
yeah,
death.
Yeah,
that's all I know,
right?
but I don't know what pool in Spanish is.
Oh, there you go. Somebody knows it.
But I digress.
Go ahead and write in. Break our fourth wall and let us know what that is. Yeah, but you see the test footage is all hilarious. The action is all in there, and then you hear more smatterings that this thing is actually going to end up happening. That Tim Miller, a person with no film history on his resume,
I didn't know anything that this guy does.
I found out later on that he mostly did was cutscenes for video games or video game commercials, like trailers for the Batman game and stuff like that.
So then that actually makes more sense of why Tim Miller's absence from Deadpool 2 is gonna be felt, because Tim Miller, his style was thrown into that script, and his style was thrown into the direction, and a lot of that charm and the witty nature came from Tim Miller. Yeah, it's Ryan Reynolds acting, but Tim Miller did a lot of the edits for this. He did a lot of the cuts, so it's gonna be a very lost. I'm gonna feel the loss. In Deadpool 2 without him.
The movie was written by Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, and Ryan Reynolds credits them and Tim Miller as being the forces that have for 6 years, they say, pushed and pushed and
Oh no,
pushed
those
for this
I heard
film to be made.
those writers along with Ryan Reynolds have been pushing.
And I also found out that when you talk about the the problems with big studios and stuff like that, I found out that 20th Century Fox refused to pay the writers of the film to be on set and make sure that everything was according to plan. So Ryan Reynolds gave them money out of his own pocket because they were instrumental in getting the film even created in the first place. And it just goes to show you how Ryan Reynolds will go to bat for creative
He's really
teams and
taking
stuff.
this role is like his Iron Man, his Wolverine. Like he's really like appreciating the fact that he got a chance to be this guy. Because remember, Ryan Reynolds, come like 1999, 2002, you're looking at movies like Buying the Cow, Van Wilder.
Yeah, and I think Van Wilder. I think majority with Van Wilder, he kind of got typecast from then on.
Yeah, that's what it was. It's because he had a little cameo in Buying the Cow, and it was kind of like his Van Wilder stage. But once National Lampoon's Van Wilder hit, that was it. Ryan Reynolds was typecasted as the 20-year-old party guy, sex crazed maniac.
You know. Now you're saying all this. You know who's the first thing that who's the first name that came to mind when you said all that? Chris Evans. Remember Not Another Teen Movie? And then
Yes.
even Human Torch. He was playing jokey 20 something.
So I always
Cute.
imagined my Johnny Storm would be like that. But yeah, Chris Evans was kind of typecasted for a while, and I think it was really the Captain. I wouldn't want to fully credit Captain America for breaking it. I want to honestly. I know it's not a comic book movie. I say Snowpiercer really put this man on like people's eyes, not on the map, but in people's eyes. People were like, "Wow, this guy can go from playing a teen parody movie to a bad guy in a comic book movie, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, to this."
Well, it's important. It's important that you brought that up. And this podcast is going to be as schizophrenic as Deadpool himself because I'm going to be jumping all over all kinds of topics.
Oh, let's do it, baby.
Because
we got this.
you mentioned Snowpiercer for Chris
Yes.
Evans, and so a movie like Snowpiercer or other films that you see like where you say The Dark Knight for Heath Ledger, it shows you what happens when material and director, the right material and the right director meet the right actor for a role, and how all that ends up coming to be. With that, I would like to bring up the idea of explain what fans mean when they say superhero redemption.
What superhero redemption to me is Ben Affleck when he played Daredevil in 2003. I personally like the movie, but I digress. But then people were like, "This isn't an actor. He screwed up Daredevil." And then he started coming out with these other actual movies that weren't comic book that people just hated because he messed up Daredevil. And then we get him casted as Batman, who I think did an amazing job as. I don't care.
He was a good Bruce.
That is superhero redemption. Guys like Chris Evans, who played Johnny Storm and then played Captain America. That's superhero redemption.
For some of you younger fans, Killmonger, Michael B. Jordan, who was the
Yes.
Human Torch, superhero redemption. So it's the idea that you play one failed superhero, or in multiple sometimes, right? Chris Evans was also in The Losers, and
I
stuff
wouldn't
like that.
call Losers
Not
a
that that
fail.
was a fail, but it's not like his portrayal in that was like, oh, we need that guy for Avengers. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So it's the idea that just because you had a less than stellar performance as a superhero in a property doesn't mean that you can't try again. Doesn't mean you can't redeem yourself. And Ryan Reynolds is at the top of that list because of his portrayal as Wade Wilson in Deadpool.
And then he redeems himself because of Green Lantern.
That was what I was going to bring up next. Green Lantern. Green Lantern
with the
was
green
credited-
eyes and the animated suit.
I don't know if you were familiar with this, but Green Lantern was credited as being supposedly the first step in creating the DCEU, the DC
Actually, I
extended
knew that.
universe.
Yes, this was before Man of Steel. This was supposed to be what led into everything.
And so the failure of this movie, seemingly, now on the shoulders of Ryan Reynolds again, I'll say, the failure of this movie to capitalize on the popularity of the actual character stalled DC to the point kind of where they are now, right? 'Cause
That's why you
I don't know how fair that is to say, but I would say that,
No, it's very fair because you can tell you can see the foreshadowing of DCEU's career
yeah.
from Green Lantern. Because after Green Lantern, we got Man of Steel.
Right.
Me, I personally like the movie, but it's not critically panned well. It's not. This isn't their Superman. This is a dark and brooding Superman that no one's have ever seen before, and they don't like that. And then you get Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. Again, a movie I liked for a lot of the storyline, but a movie that was either boring or jarring. And then
Well, had Green Lantern taken off, we probably would have seen a very different
we
DCEU.
would never have gotten Deadpool.
Um, well,
At
that's
least
also
I
true.
don't think
That's
we would
also
have.
true
I don't
because he
think
would
we
have
would
been
have
tied
gotten
up. He would have been tied up in
exactly
a bunch of stuff.
because right now how Deadpool 2 is being like released Friday. Their Justice League, he would have been in their Justice League and
Exactly.
have to start filming for a second part.
Right, but I also think that the tone would have been a lot more upbeat, like how Green Lantern was. I think that the only reason why the DCEU is dark now is because Green Lantern comes out not too far from Dark Knight Rises.
And this is your theory.
Yes, Dark Knight Rises and the Dark Knight trilogy made them bunch of money. Green Lantern didn't. So when looking at those two paths to take on where you're gonna take Superman, do you do it the Green Lantern way or do you do it the Batman way? They didn't want to do it the Batman way, but Batman makes money, so they go get that guy who did those.
And then it became just a critical flop anyways.
But then it became just chasing that high of the Dark Knight trilogy.
And they're
Legit still to
that's
this day.
That's the problem with a lot of movies too. And it's not just DC. I see it a lot with Marvel too. Everybody since 2008 has been trying to be the Dark Knight.
Chasing after that dream, man, because that was a high. That's a high for the
look at
comic
Iron
book
Man 3
franchise.
Look at fucking
Iron Man 3, yeah.
Iron Man 3 and 2. Even 2 was pretty darker.
Yeah.
Like look at the Captain America Winter Soldier. That's dark. Look at Avengers Age of Ultron. That's dark. Like a lot of these movies want to be what they shouldn't be.
Right, and thinking that that's the only thing that sells. So with Deadpool, the film coming out and us worrying about this superhero redemption and us worrying about where they were going to take this character, first thing that we got was what I would call A+ promotional material for this thing.
A+. I think Deadpool 2's promotion is a lot better than the promotion for the first one because now they know where they can go with this.
Yeah.
They have a video of him apologizing to David Beckham.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Like that is great.
All the posters was hilarious. I'm talking more about the first one, but all the posters were hilarious. The commercial spots, the TV spots, all really really funny. And I believe even in the first trailer, he breaks the fourth wall to kind of let you know what kind of movie it's gonna be.
Oh no, he does he does the movie voice guy where he speaks like this.
Right. And so that kind of opens up what that movie could be. And then it drops in February, culminating at almost to celebrate the 25 years after Deadpool first appeared in New Mutants in 1991.
And that production is that is just smart marketing value by putting a movie like that on Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
And then it comes out around Valentine's Day. So I go see it. I didn't really know what to expect. I just wanted to have a good time.
Well, from your views of the trailers, did you think you were going to be sold? Did you think it was going to be a good job?
I thought about movies like Fantastic Four, where I just had fun. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I wanted to laugh, but again, I didn't really know what to think about this film before I saw it for the first time. I knew I would be in on a good time, but I thought all the continuity breaking would allow for me not to have to sink my teeth in too much into the plot. Like it would be such a jokey film that it would wash over me when it was over. Like watching an episode of Family Guy where there's so many jokes that there's not really a plot. It's all just references.
Yeah, no.
And so I thought that's what I was going to get, and I was pleasantly surprised. What was your take watching the film for the first time?
Well, personally, I've been waiting for the Deadpool movie since 2009. When this movie has been in production hell, limbo, just not going anywhere. So when I saw the commercial, the trailer that matched the leaked test footage, I thought this movie was gonna be the best. I legit thought like, there's no way they can mess this up. You actually have a suit. You have Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds. You have him self-contained, but not too restrained.
Yeah.
And then I watched the movie. I go to theaters, opening weekend, went with a friend, and there was not a dull moment in the movie. Yeah. Not a dull moment. And I'm going to piggyback off of what you were saying with the one-liners and the quippy jokes and the fourth wall breaks is enough where you don't have to sink your teeth into the plot. That is very true for me. Even to this day, I know it's just a generic, boy rescues girl from said bad guy story, but there's still, like, I watched it last night to prepare for this, and there was still a lot more going on than just generic bad guy story.
Yeah.
There was love there. There was romance. There was drama. Like, it had shades of every little genre you can cram in there, but it was just the jokes. even if I couldn't follow the plot, the jokes was enough for me to say this is a good movie.
I got on record of saying that the most surprising part of this movie to me was the heart that they had in it.
And you know what the thing is, but Deadpool comics, Deadpool
It,
does have
you're right.
heart.
No, you're right.
He's not
It's
like
true.
there's a specific comic book of Deadpool. It's like one of those little 15-page one shots
Yeah.
of him finding a girl who's about to kill herself, and he just annoys the hell out of her all day and gets her to not kill herself.
Right.
And to the end, to the where it's at the end of the panels, and she's just like, please just leave me alone. He's like, are you gonna kill yourself? Don't do that. You're nice. You're a great girl. You got a lot to live for.
That's awesome.
Like stuff like that. When Deadpool talks, Deadpool has done a lot of. They have wrote Deadpool to do after school special type comics, and they're the little 10-page comics about him stopping bullying, him stopping kids doing drugs. Like they use a rated R comic book character like this to send messages to kids through comics.
Right.
So
right. And that to me, that's always been the bright side of comics. That's always been what pulls me into comics is when it gets more human. And I'm talking about books that have talking trees and stuff. So when it gets more human, when it gets more to the center of problems and stuff like that, that's where I find myself really paying attention. And this film, it did that. Star-studded cast, as you know already. We're not gonna go see my scene breaking it down, but I dug everybody they put in. I actually went and did some research for the cast of characters that they have in here because I started to wonder if they were just making people up, right? Because you start to think like Black Owl, Weasel, Vanessa.
Oh no,
No, they're
Weasel
all-
is his actual best friend. Same for little Easter egg. The guy Bob
Yeah,
that he doesn't kill, that he just knocks out. And
the
says,
guy from TGI Fridays.
yeah, that's actually his best friend in the movie, Hydra Bob.
Yeah.
That's sorry, comics, not movies. In the comics, that's his actual best friend, Hydra Bob. So I thought that was hilarious. That he's like, Bob, how's the wife? She still make casserole?
Yeah, it's pretty good. But they can't mention Hydra because Hydra, MCU has Hydra.
Yeah, but that's weird because if you didn't, I don't know if you noticed, but last night when I was watching Deadpool and he threw the pizza box down at the girl's foot with the pictures, it
Feige's
says
famous.
Feige Famous Pizza.
Yeah, Famous Feige's or something like that, which is the creative director on all those MCU films.
That was hilarious.
Maybe that was a peace offering. Maybe that was kind of like
And that was what's beautiful about the first Deadpool, where you can throw a Feige, just little Easter egg Feige on a pizza box, but now Disney is forcing Deadpool 2 to cut jokes.
yeah.
And I have tried to look all week to see what joke they cut. They're not
Can't
even telling you.
find it.
Ryan Reynolds can't even say it.
I like the term throwing a Feige though. That sounds
Throwing
like,
a Feige.
That sounds like it's a thing. But just for a little bit of comic background, Sister Margaret's does exist in the comics. It was in Deadpool 1 in 1997. It was a dispatch center for mercenaries, like it was in the movie, but it used to be Sister Margaret's. It got torn down and it was recalled Hell House. So Hell House was the official name of it, but they kept the Sister Margaret's for the film. I thought that was pretty funny.
It's hilarious. Just imagine a group of mercenaries drinking at a bar called
Chilling.
Sister Margaret's.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. You got a Black Owl, who is the blind mother figure of Deadpool's. I found out that she also in Deadpool came out in Deadpool #1 in 1997. But she started as a hostage of Wade Wilson's, and whenever she would act up, he would put her in a room called the Box that was covered in sharp objects because she's blind. And I told you, it was dark.
What?
I told you, dark, bro. So, but he never locked the door. Hoping that just fear would keep her in there. And there was several times where he tried to release her, let her go, and she's like, "No, I'm here because you are a good person, and I think I can get the good out of you." So they have this very weird, complex, twisted relationship.
In the comics, it seems
In the
like she
comics,
likes
yeah.
him more than in the movies. Because in the movies, it seems like he's more attached to her. Like he can't live without her, as opposed to
Right.
her to him.
Well, she answered a Craigslist ad in the movie, so I thought that was pretty funny. What do you think about the Black Owl character in the film?
Okay, that's probably as far as little one-off characters go. She is amazing. She's just, I can't remember a lot of her lines word for it, but I just remember she is my comedy relief. I know T.J. Miller is a lot of people's comedy relief, but
Yeah,
my comedy relief is Blind Owl. I just love her. You know what the thing is? I love her reactions to Deadpool. Like
Yeah.
when he puts the little baby fist
Yeah,
on her chin,
yeah.
and she's like, "Is that a baby
Yeah.
fist?" About the size of a KFC spork.
Yeah, Black Owl. The funny thing about that is because she's in the box or the cave, her name alludes to Black Alfred, being his Alfred, like Alfred to Batman. And so they don't even care there. There's another reference right there in comics and in the movie where they're breaking the fourth wall, acknowledging that he knows about Batman's Alfred, and that's why he would name this woman Black Owl.
Well, see, that's what I love about the T.J. Miller line that no one really, I guess, pays attention to. But when when Skeletor within the suit
Yeah.
comes into the bar,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Here, this guy looking for you. It might further the plot."
Yeah.
That's a fourth wall break that no one even thinks about.
I laugh every time I hear that. I thought that was hilarious. Weasel, like you said, T.J. Miller, plays Weasel in this film. Weasel's real name is Jack Hammer. Yes, Jack Hammer, comma Jack.
Hammer, comma Jack.
Hammer, comma Jack. He's a weapons and gadget specialist. He gets Deadpool his information. But I also found out, just like Black Owl, Wade kind of ruined his life. Wade needed somebody to help him with his teleportation belt. So he goes back in time, right? And Weasel and Peter Parker are going for the same job for Norman Osborn. And even though Jack's in the running and he's ahead, Deadpool dresses up like, I want to say Peter Parker or somebody, and goes to Norman Osborn and says that Weasel, don't hire him because he's a drug head. He's addicted to drugs. He'll be a terrible employee. Whatever you do not hire Weasel, which then allows Weasel's life to spiral to a point where he would help a guy like Wade Wilson in the future fix his teleportation belt.
That's butterfly effects at its finest, man.
But crazy dark. And he debuts in Cable number 3, 1993. So, even before Black Owl, before Sister Margaret's, we had Weasel. So that's big there too. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is probably the newest character in this film. She came out in New Mutants 115 in 2001. But the most interesting thing I found out about her, besides her having completely different powers in the comics as per to the movie, was that, and I forgot about this. I knew this early, but I forgot that she was a trade. We had traded Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy for Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Fox.
No way.
Yeah, Fox and Fox and Disney traded. So apparently Disney owned Negasonic and Fox owned Ego somehow, and so they switched those two in a trade, which I don't know what Guardians of the Galaxy is without Ego, and I don't know what this movie is without Negasonic, so I'm glad that they did what they had to do.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to have to trade, but damn it, did it work.
Yeah. Also, you have Vanessa, the shape-shifting mutant. Well, she's not shape-shifting mutant here, but she started out in the comics. She debuted in X-Force 19 in 1993, quite some time ago. In the comics, she's a shape-shifting mutant named Copycat. And but just like in the movie, Wade left her when he found out he had cancer. So he doesn't see her again until she's impersonating Domino, who's going to be in the second film. Now, she's a shape-shifting mutant named Copycat, and she also becomes a mercenary after Wade leaves her, which is funny because Wade becomes a mercenary after Wade leaves her. And the writers of Deadpool say that they're cool to explore her mutant side, even though they did it in this film. So with her,
so what kind of explanation are they going to give us?
Well, that's a pretty good answer. That's a pretty good question. Unless, what can they do? Well, but with Domino being in this film, that kind of sets up for that. Domino, that character also debuted in the same comic book that Deadpool appeared. So Deadpool and Domino have the same birthday, comic book birthday. So it's cool that she's finally joining the ranks in the next film.
And what is that? That's supposed to be the what's it called? The X-Force. So
yeah.
The whole building facility where they were all born in with all their powers and everything, right? Is that?
No, that I don't even think it's named in the comics. It's just some kind of offshoot Weapon X.
I know it's called Weapon X, yeah.
Yeah, some kind of offshoot Weapon X facility, because X-Force is just the Black Ops X-Men. With that cable heads. It was the New Mutants. It was legit the New Mutants comic, and they just changed the name to something more edgy, which is X-Force, and they were allowed to kill. Those guys all killed people. Last but not least, we have Ajax, who is legit named Francis in the comics. He debuted in 1998 in the issue Deadpool issue 14. He is a former enforcer at Dr. Kilbrew's lab. So unlike the movie, there's an actual doctor that's doing these experiments. And
wasn't Dr. Kilbrew the name? I could have sworn they never said it in the movie, but
right.
He was but that guy that meets Wade in the bar was credited as Dr. Kilbrew.
Oh, that would have been pretty cool if they alluded to that, because he was an enforcer at Kilbrew's lab. And interestingly enough, ripped the heart out of Wade Wilson in the facility and thought he died. Wade, with his extraordinary regenerative powers, grew his heart back. And then the hunt for Ajax started, just like in the film. It was a revenge plot to kill the man who tortured him inside Kilbrew's lab, while Ajax is going around killing all the other Weapon X subjects that are out in the world to keep everything silent about the Weapon X program. What has caused more heroes and villains than the Weapon X program and people trying to remake the damn super soldier serum?
And that's all what it comes back to. It's just everybody trying to remake that super soldier serum. Like
Does it all go back to Cap? Yeah, it probably all goes back. It's
pro-
Cap and Wolverine.
between Wolverine's immortality and Cap's serum, like wasn't Bruce Banner with his gamma research trying to recreate the super soldier serum?
Yeah, exactly. So it's that's what it all is. Bucky is the super soldier serum, baby.
This has nothing to do with Deadpool, but it's just beautiful where there was a one-off line in one of the Captain America's or Avengers where they say it all started from you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Avengers, the first Avengers.
Yeah.
Where Cap didn't know what was going on, and he's like, it all started from you. You were our first superhero.
Yeah. And then you see Bucky in Civil War with a bunch of super soldier serum that he was supposed or stop people from getting a bunch of the super soldier serum. So creating these mercenaries, creating this army of unkillable soldiers has been something people have been trying to do for years.
What a messed up torture scene for Wade.
Yeah.
A weekend in a chamber that will cut off his oxygen if they sense him breathing, but will turn it back on if they sense he can't.
Yeah.
So he's just gonna balance between choking.
Right there on death. Yeah. He can't. He's not allowed to pass out, and he's not allowed.
Yeah, because the second he passes out, they'll turn on the oxygen,
and he's not allowed to comfortably breathe, because then they'll cut off the oxygen.
So then he's just literally choking.
Yeah.
The whole weekend for a whole weekend.
Well, I did like that. The movie says that The movie says that basically that stress is the causer of these mutant abilities.
That's what they're alluding
themselves.
to, right?
Yeah, and this has kind of been said in the X-Men comics, where you will have somebody show off their mutant abilities at a time of stress, like how Cyclops was kind of like his eyes were hurting, and then he got bullied, and then it shot out in the movie. But usually, yeah, in a teenage age, I was gonna say, when you're around the age of a teenager, I guess puberty and stress will cause your mutant abilities to sprout, because apparently these mutant abilities are dormant in your bloodstream.
You know, most of us just our voice gets deeper.
Yeah, right.
These guys just go
full
out.
You get full powers. Look at Negasonic. He goes. I'd hate to be the guy that's gonna pressure her into prom sex, which is I mean, yeah, if girls had powers when I was trying to go on dates, I'd
Nah, I think I wouldn't
be
go
a very dangerous playing field. I tell you that right now. But
what did you like about? What I want. That's what I want.
film?
I want to know what from the Deadpool film. What did you like and what did you not like?
I like that he was a flawed hero. Because
that he ain't.
Well, he's not a hero. Yeah, I guess he's a flawed anti-hero. But I really dug that he speaks to an entire generation of edgelords, right? These people who go on the internet and troll and nihilists, right? People who don't care about anything, so every joke is on the table. But he does care. He does care, and I love that they balance that. That he seemingly makes jokes about, he makes jokes about kids. He makes jokes about sex. He makes jokes about masturbation. He makes jokes about sexuality. He makes jokes about. He even calls homeboy a pedophile. Like, he makes a joke about pedophilia. He makes jokes about blind people, disabled.
Even in his own honest trailers, he refers to himself as a pansexual mercenary for hire. And
so he nothing is
off the
table or too far for him. But in the same sense, that this same guy who nothing is off the table for him can't be brought to walk up to Vanessa and just be like, "Hey, girl, this is me now." He cares that much about his inner.
He was really insecure about his outer looks. He didn't think that you could love who he is on the inside, that you would love what he looks like as a beautiful guy, that you would in turn not see.
And how big is that? How universal is that? That's one of the most universal feelings that we've all felt, right? Like,
exactly.
We don't measure up to the people we want to be with, and why even give them a shot? Why give the other person a chance to reject us? At one point in the film, Black Owl tells him, like, you might as well just go and talk to her.
And he says, I look like, he's like, what did he say? He said, "Oh, you ever heard David Beckham speak?
Oh
It's
yeah,
like he
yeah, yeah.
mouth sexed a can of helium, you know."
Exactly. And that's when he says the Ryan Reynolds line about like Ryan Reynolds never got off on his great acting prowess. It was his good looks. But something else that he said that I didn't notice the first time I watched the film, and even subsequent watches, he tells her that he tells Black Owl that Vanessa turned him away. He tells her that, and that never happened. He put that in his own mind. He never gave Vanessa a chance to turn him away, but in his own mind, she's already done it. Like he's his visage or his visage is so disturbing that he won't even give her a chance to reject him. He's already been rejected in his own head. And I thought that's
something
sad.
we all feel, yeah.
That's humanizing. That's a feeling, like you said, that we feel where we cut our own legs out from under us
It's like
before
my
we
mom
even
always
try.
said, you cut your nose to spite your face. And
Exactly.
him not talking to Vanessa as soon as he him not even telling Vanessa, listen, I'm going to this little facility to cure myself. That's cutting your nose to spiting your face.
Yeah, but yeah, he says she wouldn't have me, is the words that he uses.
Yeah, she wouldn't have me. I remember.
And what is that? What? Like, okay, but then Black Owl says like, "Are you just gonna sit here and mope?" Which I thought was pretty cool too. Like, come on, get up and do something for yourself. So I thought that was pretty cool. I loved the Deadpool montage, him creating the costumes and stuff.
That was a really great montage.
One of the best suit montages ever, and I'm really digging the makeshift costume era where we see Spider-Man's makeshift costume prior. We see Daredevil's makeshift costume prior. I like these early things because the garish costumes we get later on, you start to think, how do you get from point A to there? You know,
well, see, that's
get to
why
see
Amazing
it
Spider-Man
in
was
this.
was great because his costume, he literally took spandex, took a printing press, put some oil on it, like dyed a whole
Yeah.
spider. Like he made it from, and you could see him from Bing. He was searching like ski suits.
Right.
So he literally took a ski suit.
And same thing like they do something similar in Civil War or Spider-Man Homecoming where you see that suit, which is basically hobbled together.
Oh yeah, with the goggles and everything.
Yeah, Deadpool's first suit is basically a white baklava with sweatpants and a sweatshirt and goggles and or glasses.
I think it was supposed to be in like an Easter egg joke towards
Yeah.
one of like the whited suit Deadpools.
Yeah, that can make sense. But funny enough, the reason why he doesn't choose white is because of blood. He's not afraid to get shot because he heals from it, but he didn't want to keep cleaning blood out of his costume.
Yeah,
so
that's
he decides
great.
on red.
Where Black Owl is like they're both doing laundry together, and she's like vinegar and baking soda to get blood out.
Yeah.
Asshole.
Yeah, and that's the thing that it's a seltzer water and lemon juice.
Oh, salsa water and lemon juice.
Yeah. Tuck that away. Tuck that away in case you ever need it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need that.
You get. I love how he chose red. I love is it sexist to hit you or is it sexist
more,
to not
is
to
it more
not hit
sexist
you?
to not hit you? The line is really that's
funny.
That's
funny.
great.
Just
Because
really good.
He
really good.
Oh man.
Basically, yeah, he's looking for
doesn't know.
Francis and he sees a female criminal and he goes to hit her and then he'd stop because it's a girl and he's like, should I hit you or is it sexist to not hit you? And he's like, I don't know. I just don't know. And
I
it's
really love that.
Really funny.
Because is it? Is it sexist to hit you? Is it more sexist not to hit you? You know.
I dug what I call the Austin Powers gag, which is the Zamboni. Him on the Zamboni. I call it the Austin Powers gag because if you've seen Austin Powers, they do something similar with Austin Powers on a what
I think it was a steamroller.
Yes, and the guy from Mad TV is like feet away.
Feet.
A
Man's
mile.
like a whole
He's
mile
He's like
away.
a mile away, and basically Austin Powers is like, "Get out of the way, or you'll get killed." And the guy's just going, "No!"
And he literally has his hand up, guys, for like 10 yards. His hand is straight out, like saying stop, and he's just screaming, no.
In the beginning, you think that they're close, though. That's the joke that they play.
That's
And
the
then
beauty of that
back.
joke with the subversion.
They pull back to the long shot, and you see how actually far away they are. And the same thing happens in Deadpool, where you see somebody crawling on the ice, and he goes, "I'm going to kill you with a Zamboni." And then he goes, "Tell me where he is or I'll kill you." In like 5 minutes. In like 5 minutes. And it zooms out and it shows you how far it is. I thought all of that stuff was hilarious. What about you? What tickles your funny bone when you think of this movie?
Okay, well, besides Ryan Reynolds' superior acting, just all the little jokes and funny things, like when he gets a cab ride from Dopender, and the guy's like, it's 23.50. He's like, oh no, I never carry wallets. Everyone's the lining in my pockets.
And they kept that
How
up.
about a Chris high five?
Then they kept that up where in the end where he goes, so another Chris high five. He goes 10 for you, and he gives him a 10,
Yes,
which was pretty cool.
the highway shootout scene is obviously a great scene, but I don't want to talk about that particular part. I want to talk
Okay.
about when we get Colossus and Negasonic and the jokes that follow,
Okay.
where he's trying to fight Colossus and he goes and punches him in the nuts, and he's like, "Oh, your poor wife."
Yes, that was all
That
really
is
good.
Or when both of his hands are broken, and he's like, "All the dinosaurs fear the T-Rex."
All that stuff is hilarious. All the stuff with I actually like how they cut right to Negasonic, like the core of that character very soon when he says like, you're just a teenage girl, and I know all teenage girls, I'd rather be somewhere else but here, and so all you're gonna do is make sarcastic comment or silence, or sarcastic comment or silence, so which one is it gonna be? And she's like, you got me in a box here, and he's like, ha ha. I thought all of that was great.
This movie
because
made me feel old though, in a sense, because when he goes up to the X Mansion in the first time to grab them together, saying he needs their help,
yeah,
and Negasonic opens the door, he's just like, Ripley from Alien 3.
yeah,
And I was like, I would
making
make that joke.
and he making alien references before Spidey does in Infinity War.
That's great. Yeah, but he called it a really, really old movie. He's got to
Yeah.
stop. He's got to stop calling 80s movies really, really old movies.
Um,
What else? The best line. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
your favorite line,
My favorite line.
just to make a
And
distinction.
just so no one can get mad at me.
Right.
But my favorite line of Deadpool is definitely when Colossus is like, "We're gonna go take you to see the professor," and he's like, "McAvoy or Stewart? These timelines are so confusing."
Yeah, that's really really good.
That to me, I say it's the best little one-off because it is so far into the fourth wall breaking that they're literally naming the actors that played Xavier's.
Yeah,
When he says McAvoy or Stewart, I swear I lost it.
because the movie plays a lot with those boundaries, those universe boundaries, and every time you think that they've pushed it to the edge, they'll do another joke that pushes it even further.
Yeah, that's why when Colossus is like, "I can hear you," and he's like, "I wasn't talking to you.
So
I was talking to them."
Yeah, so you have that, and then later on you have, oh, such a big mansion, but it's weird that I only see you two. I guess it's like the studio couldn't pay for more X-Men, and so right back again at the same universe. I laugh all the time, and this shows you how immature I am. One of my favorite parts is the anger that he has when Vanessa gets captured. That he just goes back to his headquarters and just starts cursing up a storm. He's like, "Damn it!" He's kicking, he's punching things, kicking things, and the phone rings. He's like, get it, I'm gonna get mad." Oh my god, he's like, "I need the guns." What guns? All the guns. And then the gun montage of them grabbing all the guns and
they
grabbing
put
Black
like
Al's gun.
15, 30 guns in a giant ass duffel bag.
And then he takes Black
up,
Al's gun.
up, down, 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 down,
Yeah,
down. When
yeah.
she was pulling up her pant leg.
I thought that was hilarious. Bondu in the trunk.
Okay, Bandu in the trunk was great. He's like, he's like, "Oh, we're gonna let him go. Don't kill him."
He's like, there's got to be other ways to get Geetsa's heart. And you know what's funny that the whole Geetsa thing, that actually, it's something I completely remember. Like it's hard to forget that whole little subplot with Dopinder. But one thing that I guess I never really paid attention to is the advice he gives him. He gives him like love advice. He tells him early on in the film, 10 minutes of the film.
The first talking of the film is him just saying love.
And if you have love, don't let it go.
It's a beautiful thing.
Don't let it go. Whatever you do, fight for it. Fight for it. Fight for it. And
beautiful.
You don't really. I thought it was just something you say, like the same way someone says, "Oh, I'm thinking about giving up." You say, "Don't give up." But he's talking from a place of loving and losing that love.
He's only what? Maybe, and he said it was what? 12 months, 8 days, and 36 hours or something like that. Yeah. He counts it down to the second one as a little Adventure Time watch, which is hilarious.
That was also really good.
Oh, little fun fact.
Hello Kitty stuff.
Did you know that Dopender was actually someone that Ryan Reynolds knew in high school?
Oh wow!
So yeah, Dopender.
Is that the guy who got hit by lightning?
I
think he said one of his friends got hit by lightning and also put one of their names.
No, I know that I remember that Ryan Reynolds said in an interview. Like I was reading it, and he said that Dopender was somebody he knew in high school that used to get bullied a lot, and I think he either committed suicide himself or he just went crazy, and he's just not doing good. So he wanted that. That's why Dopender was twice in the movie, and he had like full lines and everything. He wanted a little tribute to someone he knew in high school that was going through hard times.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So it's like, man, he encapsulates everything he does, and Ryan Reynolds is just.
Yeah, he's great in that. Another thing I caught was in the beginning of the film when the Agent Smith character talks to him, and it's funny because I had forgotten that his actual name was Agent Smith. In my head, I had called him the Agent Smith character because of Agent Smith
Wait,
from
is his
Matrix.
name Agent Smith?
Yeah.
That's because
Well, that's
IMDb
what that
only...
was. That was one of the names that everyone else was calling him. I don't know if in the end
Oh,
credits
because it
it
was
said
only
Kilgore.
credited. He was credited as the recruiter.
Okay,
That's his
yeah.
credit name, as the recruiter.
Something like Agent Smith. But I think on my subtitles, one of them said something about Agent Smith, and I was like, Agent Smith.
Oh, like Agent Smith talking?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I think it was after the joke that he made where he called him Agent Smith, so the captions just stood with it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. But when he goes to recruit Wade, he says that Wade has, and I quote, 41 confirmed kills.
I think it was 47 confirmed kills.
Something like that. And
no, it was 42 confirmed kills, 1 every 7 weeks. Same rate an average guy gets a haircut.
Yes, but in this, it was actually. I mean, post that, right? So you say he disappears for a year and change.
Yeah.
After that, it becomes 89. So in those 7 years or so, how many years? 7 years?
Well, from when he became Deadpool to when he
prior to Deadpool. Because you say he got 42.
He got 42
roughly.
confirmed kills every 7 weeks.
Yeah, so
1 every 7 weeks.
Right. So that took a good time.
Yeah.
And then he doubles 52. That. He basically doubles that in a year. He doubles his kills in a year just trying to find Ajax, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, wow, he got a lot of bodies.
That's why I love when he meets up with the recruiter. Finally, he's like 42 confirmed kills, about to be 90.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yep.
Or when he actually pushes the camera away.
And you start to think we've seen a lot of gory moments at this point. So what could it be that you can't show us? I thought that was pretty cool.
Did you notice? I don't know if you ever noticed, but it's funny because when you're mentioning we've seen a lot of gory stuff just to push the camera away. When he initially finds the recruiter and attacks them, he takes his sword, jumps on a guy, and then jumps down onto the sword and splits him in half.
He stabs a guy through the chest, and then he jumps in the air and stomps on both sides of the sword so it can slice him through. And it was
like you're showing that, but you can't show what you do to Agent Smith.
Yeah, it was definitely bananas. I like Stan Lee's strip club cameo.
Oh yeah, I think that's just what Stan. I think they just literally found a footage of Stan Lee of what he does with his spare time.
And so we got you can't buy happiness, but you can sure rent it. that came out of Stan Lee.
What was her name?
Like Chastity or something like that?
I think it was Chastity, yeah.
It might have been Chastity. But,
well, guys, it's time that we start. We talked about the stuff we love. We did. But it's time to talk about the stuff we didn't like. Because
wait, one more thing about what I love. I love the superhero walk. I love the superhero landing.
Those are great.
Those jokes on those. What I call a superhero walk is when him, Colossus, and Negasonic are out of the cab.
Slow motion.
Right, and in your head you're going, wait, didn't he have a whole bag of guns? And then he's like, where's my bag of guns?
How do you get out of a cab not realizing that your guns are gone?
But the reason why I like that scene, obviously, because he had to innovate, and it also can mean, like, I always took that as, like, they didn't want to spend the money on all the gun violence, or it could just been something for the plot. But
I think it was just supposed to be a joke, just to be funny, because like a callback to the beginning where he forgets his ammo bag.
That's what I was going to mention as
which
well.
Which is even better because I would have
loved.
I loved the fact that we got to see Deadpool 2 Katanas strong, taking out all of these guys.
Yeah, he only had 12 bullets in the
first one. Yeah,
in the beginning of the film. So we've already seen him pressed, have to improvise and take out a bunch of villains. But
he
this
kicks
was way more.
A guy's head like a soccer ball.
Oh my god! But and all his flips and stuff. And Ryan Reynolds, supposedly they had like muscles built into the suit, but he was so jacked getting ready for the role that they had to cut the muscles out of the suit because it was too tight and he looked like a linebacker basically.
Well,
so
why would you put muscles in a suit for Ryan? The man is.
I guess they were assuming that he wasn't gonna get jacked up. I guess.
What do you mean? Wasn't gonna get jacked up?
You're basically saying, has there ever been a time he hasn't been jacked up?
Look at any movie with Ryan Reynolds shirtless. You will always see diamond abs. His traps are crazy. His arms are big, especially Waiting. The movie where he played a waiter. There's just one scene where he's like putting down his tank top, and you just see the V-cut abs going straight down. Like there was never a time where I remember Ryan Reynolds.
And I remember him in Blade. In Blade, he was jacked.
Exactly, Blade Trinity. He did a movie with Samuel L. Jackson called Safe House.
Right.
I think it was Denzel Washington. Yeah, it was with Denzel Washington called Safe House. Like, he's done movies where he needed to look a certain part.
Right.
So to build a suit with muscles in it, I don't know, that seems kind of just disrespectful in my eye. To me, it's just like, why?
And through some of the backstage stuff, they were talking about one of the big things for him that they wanted was the expressive eyes. And we got those with Deadpool before Spider-Man. Those eyes were CGI. so that they can mimic his eyebrows and his eye movements, and so you can see him.
Oh, we needed those
Get
expressive
angry.
eyes.
I
Without the
thought it was
expressive,
amazing.
yeah, it was the CGI that went into that costume was great.
The CGI that went into Colossus to reflect off of the various surfaces that he was in, great, good
And this
stuff.
was a huge Colossus.
Did you know they called in the Colossus actor from the other X-Men films, and he was like, "Well, if I'm just gonna do the CGI and not the voice, I don't want to do it."
Damn.
Eh.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
I like
I like
extra
this
Russian Colossus. That's the one I remember from the comics.
Yeah, man.
Extra Russian.
This was like the Colossus that was like in love with Kitty Pryde and all that. This was like the man who talks like this.
I also feel like they used Colossus because they couldn't use, or they wanted to give Cable a huger role in the sequel, but they still needed somebody to bounce off of.
Man, how many mutants are in X-Men? How many could have you chose?
Yeah, that's true. But you needed a straight man because Wade was gonna go all crazy. Cable would have been that straight man. Another good straight man would have been Wolverine, and they do a lot of Wolverine and Hugh Jackman jokes, but Wolverine's wasn't in the film.
I think the best straight man for him would have been Scott.
Cyclops?
Yeah.
I think he's too goody.
Too goody?
Yes, and
He'll get himself killed.
You know, we're talking about Cyclops. I mean, sorry, Colossus. But presumably, in between that year, they met, right? I want to know. I want to know how that happened. I want to know when the first time Colossus met Deadpool. I want to know how Deadpool knows about the X-Men.
Because all of a sudden, he was just watching the news and he knew it was Deadpool before he even said it.
And Deadpool knew it was Colossus when he showed up.
And apparently, Colossus has had this like mission for some time to catch Deadpool.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't that. Man, they really should have. Now you got me thinking. I would have really loved to have seen the introduction, the debut meeting of Colossus and Deadpool.
I know you said we're going to what we don't like, but I guess the final thing that we like, I have to gush over the opening sequence, the highway sequence.
Yeah.
Because I've recently been paying very close attention to how a lot of these comic book movies start, and the start of it is it's extremely important to set the tone of whatever you're trying to do in the very beginning. I think Lego Batman does a great job doing that. I think Infinity War, in those first 5 minutes, great job setting the tone and the tenseness. And this from the honest credits, right? It was what they call it, like from honest trailers.
Yeah.
From the honest credits to no actual title card. It says, "Hi, I'm Deadpool" in a drawing. It never actually says Deadpool.
There isn't a title card.
No.
I just noticed that, right? And I watched it last night.
Yeah,
And I didn't even
no,
notice.
absolutely no title card. And then the confidence to play Angel in the Morning or Angel of the Morning, and it sounds boisterous. It sounds big.
I don't know about you, but that was just great. Like it fit. Like to me, it just fit.
I thought that was so cool. Just the maximum effort stuff. That's off the bat, you already figured out it was not for kids. You already figured out that it was going to be a joke. And
well,
then
the first joke he makes was about touching Wolverine's smooth criminals.
Yes, and then he does the whole like, my boyfriend said that this was going to be
a superhero movie.
So all of that, great way to introduce the character. Great stuff.
And it was like a flash forward. It wasn't. No. He did flashbacks. That was the current events.
Yeah.
Because once he gets into the cab, then he's like, "Here, let's just which is another great fourth wall. Yeah. Because usually you just get a quick transition cut.
And he's like, "You already seen this."
He literally fast forwards the movie. It stops at the wrong moment of him jerking off, and then keeps going.
And then keeps going. I thought that was pretty good too.
In his Crocs, no less.
Yeah, so I guess we can start talking about what we don't like. I was not a humongous fan of Francis, the character.
That is funny because that's actually was going to be the first thing I mentioned. I did not care. I wasn't really much of a fan of Francis.
But I had this theory that these origin films don't really need a strong villain. I wasn't a huge fan of the involvement of Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins. I dig Leslie Nielsen as Ra's, but I felt like he didn't really have a lot to do once Bruce got into.
That was like a third act thing. I really liked more the Scarecrow Falcone thing.
Exactly, that was more of the actual front.
And
threat.
that was like the Batman that they were going for too. You know, like that we were going for this year one Batman. So why not give us mob bosses?
Exactly.
You know, why are you just gonna jump straight into one of his best villains?
Exactly. So in that same respect, I feel like Francis didn't have a lot to do in this, but only because Wade had so much to do. So that's the only thing I'd say is a little bit of a thing, but
yeah, we really don't get much.
I'm trying to think of what else. Is there anything else popping up in your head as things you didn't like?
I've been trying to find out things I didn't like all day. I guess no, I wouldn't say runtime. Maybe
a lot of
runtime. The pacing a little bit was too quick to like grasp everything.
I mean, the movie's what, like an hour and a half, roughly, right?
Like an hour
45 minutes.
45 minutes. So it's
Yeah.
like they were literally cramming like a 2 hour and 30 minute piece of work into an hour and 45 minutes. So some scenes were just being cut off too quick. Some scenes were taking too long, and the pacing was just a little jumbled.
We might not actually have, a lot of negative things to say about this film.
I do have a negative thing. Okay.
Well, I was gonna ask you, besides the opinion you're about to state now, to think of what you've heard other people's negative opinions are about things, and maybe we bring those topics up here.
I've heard people call it just a paint by the numbers carbon copy.
Formulaic.
Yeah, formulaic. Like boy meets girl, boy falls in love, something happens where two are not together.
Do you think that's a fair criticism?
I think it is a little bit of a fair criticism because it's like you know what the thing is. I think it's fair criticism, but it's also that's the simplicity of Deadpool.
Yeah.
If you're taking a movie like Captain America and Iron Man or Batman and Spider-Man, and you have all these elements, all these emotions and feelings and character arcs to throw in there. But with Deadpool, it's like, listen, this guy fell in love with a girl. He caught cancer. Now he's in a superhero training. Now he looks ugly. Now he wants revenge. Now he got his revenge. End of the story.
Yeah.
It is paint by the numbers, but you know what? We don't have time. I think as much as I really would have loved a longer movie, we don't really have time to, take care of all the minutiae details of the plans.
Yeah.
You know?
We don't have time to Bob Ross it, right? Because you were saying paint by numbers.
Yeah. We're just gonna put a little plot convenience right there in the corner. No one's gonna see it.
Yeah. So, to that criticism, I will say that two things. One, it could be seen as formulaic. I think it would have been seen as more formulaic if the film would have been directed in a linear style. I think if we would have gotten everything chronologically, him being a mercenary, then him being Vanessa, then him. But the fact that you get him as Deadpool first, the fact that we got kind of a fast flash forward, flash back kind of narrative, I think jumbles that up just enough that you don't really have the sense of how much of a I guess you would say, like you said, a carbon copy that it is. But I would also say that with Deadpool being a parody film, kind of, right? Parodying superhero
like
films.
Satire, like a satire comic.
You kind of have to. You kind of have to have the elements
I
of
see
the
where
film,
you're going
right?
I see where you're going with
In
this. Right.
there
When you're
with that.
satirizing a film, you have to satirize all the elements of the film. You have to be self-aware.
Right, like Kung Pao has to have martial arts aspects in it, tropes in it, because it is playing up those tropes. So I can see the argument, but I think that I dug what they did with this film. I have a few nitpicks, like I said, things like Ajax. I wasn't a huge fan of Angel Dust either. I really feel like she did next to nothing.
To be honest with you, that was a total misuse of Gina Carano, because Gina Carano has actually been in stuff like
Right.
Run Lola Run and all that. She's done good action films. She's in the Fast and the Furious, one of the Fast and the Furious movies, where she was like kicking ass.
Yeah.
Against like Michelle Rodriguez. Like, I liked Gina Carano, so her little fight with Colossus was pretty cool. But I wish they would have given her more to do.
Speaking of more to do, if we're here talking about things that they could have done or didn't do, I saw a deleted scene that was extremely interesting.
I think that's probably my number one gripe of the film is like they made TJ Miller cut like 45 minutes of dialogue.
Oh no, that's awesome. This though, I'm not too sure if you're familiar with this, but there's a scene in which Deadpool goes to. When Deadpool goes to the bar and he gives Weasel the picture, and Weasel puts it up. He's like, "I need a picture of you when you're healthy because you're about to die," and all that stuff like that. He mentions like that him and Vanessa are looking up various treatments and various places to get treatment. And one of those places like Chernobyl, remember? He's like, isn't that where you go to get cancer and stuff like that? And then he mentions Mexico, and he goes, L cancer. He starts talking about L cancer and stuff like that.
Wasn't that all in the movie?
Yeah. But there's a scene of him and Vanessa going to Mexico.
Oh, I actually seen this deleted
So
scene.
they go to Mexico to try some like experimental drugs for cancer. He also offers money. He gives up money for a young child to get, because the person at the front desk is giving a young child crap because they don't have enough money to cover their expenses. So Deadpool covers the expenses for them, and both him and Vanessa are there. They're both like exhausted. They're both dirty. They're both tired. You can see that they've been at a million different hospitals, and so this place that seemingly has the cure for cancer in Mexico, he goes back to the back where a doctor is faking taking out diseased parts of a person's body, and he has chicken parts. And so he's pulling out these chicken parts. Like you ever seen Man in the Moon? Man on the Moon?
Yes.
Exactly. So this fake idea of pulling out the poisons of you, and they're making people pay real money to get fake remedies for this cancer stuff. So once Wade sees this, he attacks the man and then kills the man in front of everyone there, Vanessa included. And the floor is covered in the blood and guts that the guy had in the bucket that he was playing around with. Vanessa sees Wade murder this man, and Wade runs away. And from that moment is when they disappear from each other's lives.
Really?
Yes. And deleted, they disappeared. Then the disappearing was for 5 years, as opposed to the year and change that happens in the film. What a different movie that would have been, right?
I guess I can understand why you wouldn't have that scene.
I don't like the murder. I don't like the blatant murder.
Yeah, but that's
in
Wade.
Front of
that's Wade.
I guess, yeah, but I guess we saw him turn such a leaf with Vanessa. We forget that he was a mercenary when he met her.
You have to think of it like this: is like he was at the end of the day, he's still a mercenary. He says it. I'm no hero, and he saw a little kid that needs treatment.
Yeah.
And once you realize, wait a minute, this place is a foxhole tricking people into giving money. You're letting little kids take their parents' money and die anyways.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If I was Wade, I would have done the same thing.
He did flip out. One of the things that I dug in another deleted scene, he says, I'm just following my golden rule. Doing to others that do to others, or something like that. Like I do to people what they do to others. And I've never heard that. And they took it out of the film, but that's a pretty cool
that's actually a pretty important line. I think that overall tells you the personality of Wade.
Exactly. You take advantage of others, he will take advantage of you.
Didn't take money from that Orlovsky chick. That's why he didn't kill Jeremy. He's like, oh, just a little light stalking. I was worse at his age. Stuff like that, do unto others as they do to others.
Yeah.
Is definitely a personality trait for Wade Wilson that I can get behind.
And that scene ripped right out of the comics, that pizza scene especially with the olives and pineapple.
Guys,
and so
that's
now we
actually
know
a
that
great
Deadpool's,
combination.
We know that Deadpool's one of those people that likes pineapple on pizza. Feel how you want to about that, comic book clickers, but it is what it is. But yeah, Deadpool has been around for quite some time. Like I said, he was created in 1991 by Rob Liefeld and Fabian.
So now we're at 27 years of Deadpool.
Yes, it was a very long time. And he, like I said, he was debuted with. He debuted against Cable and alongside Domino, two people that was going to be in his sequel. What do you think we're going to get as far as Domino, Cable, all that is concerned, and Deadpool 2 that comes out in just a few days?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to stay away from trailers ever since I got my heart broken. But I watched the only trailer I watched of Deadpool was the second and final trailer. And the only reason why I watched it because I heard about the jokes where his arm is like CGI, and he's like, "Wait, stop it! I can do this better." And he's playing with his like toys. Yeah. So I don't know if because Tim Miller, it took his style of directing that no one even knew, but he'd had a lot of great editing and threw it into Deadpool. And if it wasn't for Tim Miller directing this movie, a lot of that script wouldn't come to its full fruition. Like you wouldn't actually. You just have a script. You don't have the guy saying, "Okay, listen, Ryan, you're gonna do this. You're gonna do that."
Or giving Ryan free reign at the times that he did. But then those two eventually have an out, right?
Yeah, what happened was besides creative differences, as it always is. It's Miller wanted to focus more on a stylized shoot 'em up action as opposed to comedy and humor, and Ryan didn't like that. Reynolds wanted his little scenes of action, but he also wanted all the humor. I think Tim Miller was trying to take out a lot of the humor and substitute it for comic booky. And also, their casting choice. Tim Miller wanted to cast Kyle Chandler, which, if they would have went with Tim Miller's decisions of casting Kyle Chandler and making the movie more shoot 'em up actiony, it would have cost their budget 3 times the original movie's budget.
And that's a big deal. You know, this
the original movie's budget was $58 million. $58 million to make Deadpool, not 100, not 200, $58 million. Now times that by 3, and that's what Tim Miller's. That's what would have costed if Tim Miller went with his stuff.
That's definitely one of the important parts because that's one of the things, that film It made a bunch of money, almost all the money, but it cost less to make than the Captain America films, the Avenger films, the Batman films, majority of comic book films. And it, like I said, it was such a toss up about whether or not this was actually going to get taken. But then,
There wasn't
boom,
really that much people in the movie to begin with.
yeah. I
So
was
you don't
actually
gotta
having
worry
that
about
conversation.
paychecks.
I was having that conversation when I was watching. I was like, supporting characters and everybody aside, name characters. You probably got about 15, maybe, if that.
I think 15 is. I think 15 is a little much, because you have Vanessa, Wade, Weasel, Blackout, Booth, I think Rocco or whatever, those two guys that fought in the bar.
Yeah.
You have Ajax,
Angel Dust, Colossus,
and then what's it called? Then Negasonic, and we're at 10. Bob has a line, so I guess you could throw Bob in there. Dopender,
Angel Smith.
Agent Smith, and so we're at like 13 so far as like
Yeah, that's right.
actual
I think
support.
about
Yeah, I
I
give
think
it 15. Yeah,
I
so
think
about
15 is
15
good.
supporting cast members that you can actually say had a line.
But this time we're getting X Force, the Black Ops version of the X Men, and so we're supposed to be getting Terry Crews. We're supposed to be getting Shatterstar. We're supposed to be getting a bunch of people added to this. How do you feel about the cast growing? Did you
I wanna make a red.
did you hear the rumors that Ryan Reynolds says he's not up for a third Deadpool? That he'd rather just do a group team him up, beat him up, or whatever.
Well, like a solo Deadpool,
yeah, he
but
doesn't
he's
want-
still willing. Is he still willing to play the Deadpool
Oh
role?
yeah, definitely.
Then I'm down for
And
it.
he's also said he'll never play another superhero ever.
Just Deadpool.
Just Deadpool.
I'm down for it. I'm down for that.
I heard people say that Deadpool is the role that allows all of Ryan Reynolds, that allows every aspect of him to shine, and we got to see him going through all kinds of depths in the first movie. I hope, and I said this last week, that they keep the heart between him and Vanessa. Something that people said was that because you just saw a montage of them having sex, you don't necessarily know about their love and stuff. But I think that there's some obvious love. There's some obvious hints that
if,
those
if
two
you're
were
having
in love.
if you're having sex with somebody, literally every holiday. Well, not literally every holiday, but if you're having sex with somebody for a year, you gotta love them. You got to.
I hope.
I would
so, at
hope
least.
someone would love me. Yeah, like come on.
Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna get more. What do you think we're gonna get more in the way of? I'm excited for this movie for two reasons. One, I need more laughs after Infinity War. I just do. It was kind of dark in Infinity War. Give me some jokes.
And this is why it's a perfect movie to drop after Infinity War.
And second, I need them to joke unmercifully about the state of the X-Men universe, which is in shambles. Absolute shambles. Between what happened with Apocalypse and then Logan, as far as timelines and characters and motivations are concerned, the thing is in shambles, and I would really, really like to see if they have anything to say about it, or if they have the balls enough to use the movie to fix it, especially with a time traveler like Cable.
Well, they have a lot. They have a lot of studio jokes in this movie, to the point where Disney told them, "No, bro, you got to cut this out of your movie." And I've tried looking for the joke since I heard that they made Deadpool 2 cut a Disney joke, but it's like, yeah, I'm excited for it.
And Ryan Reynolds had a lot to do with the original creative process, so hopefully the movie doesn't veer too far from how Deadpool 1 was, because Deadpool 1 literally got
Tim
shot.
Miller left. If Tim Miller
Yeah.
left, and I know a lot of the directing style was on Tim Miller's shoulders, but if Ryan Reynolds is doing all the creative work, I don't see how Deadpool 2 can fail. Maybe box office wise, like financially, I don't see the movie failing. I don't see it making as much as the second Deadpool.
I mean, it's first, right?
Sorry, I don't see it making as much as the first Deadpool.
Yeah, because that first one had it was the first R-rated movie to have a 3-day opening weekend of over 100 million. You had things like Passion of the Christ and Matrix Reloaded do it, but those opened on a Wednesday, where Deadpool got out on Friday. So, I mean, it goes right there.
Well, they said it themselves that they're not looking for a box office of 100 million, 150 million. They're not trying to do that. Like, they think that they can get their films done within a within the $60 million budget. And if you can get a really good movie done that looks beautiful with half the budget that a normal superhero movie would need, then you're doing something right.
And he did it without a lot of big names in the first one, which is funny because afterwards, after the film, the first one blew up. You've seen it. It blew up. He got praise from Chris Pratt, who's Star-Lord. He got praise from Captain America himself, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man. You've seen all the love that Hugh Jackman has for him as Wolverine. So I think that's pretty cool. That the other quote unquote superheroes of the world, even though they're not direct, in movies with him, can still see the good that he's
yeah,
doing.
when you give respect to a guy that needs it, because remember, there's superhero redemptions, and then there's Ryan Reynolds,
Yeah,
because he not only does he have to redeem himself for playing a bad Green Lantern, he has to redeem himself for even agreeing to play a really bad
X Men
Deadpool.
Origins, yeah, the X Men Origins Wolverine stuff, and that's probably
To the point
why.
where they even threw a little Deadpool toy in the movie where he picks up and says, "This is my most prized possession." And he's literally picking up a Deadpool toy from X-Men Origins.
And the thing is, I don't know if you remember, but X Men Origins had a post credit scene where Deadpool was still alive, and they were
Oh
gonna make
yeah,
a
like,
sequel to that, but because it did so poorly.
you want another fun fact about X-Men Origins? Here
What's
we go.
that?
Remember all the promotional trailers for X-Men Origins where every hero there, every mutant was getting like a 30-second, 15-second commercial
Yes.
TV spot?
Uh-huh.
Did you know that Wade Wilson's narration for that TV spot is his narration towards Weasel?
Oh
When he first
wow.
comes in. Yeah, when he's on TV, his TV spot was, "I travel the world, Mogadishu, Baghdad.
Uh-huh.
I have acquired a lot of set of skills, and I kill people," or something. Whatever that whole little monologue, like, he was introducing himself as Wade Wilson for the X-Men Origins, and then they took that line and they put it in the movie.
That's awesome. That's
I
awesome.
thought that was great, and even they have Weasel like, "And kill him." I know, I've seen your Instagram.
And you've seen that they already did the reference to how in a comic they say that he looks like a Sharpei mixed with Ryan Reynolds. And this one he says he's bitten by a radioactive Sharpei. There was jokes about like great power and great responsibility, jokes about Wolverine, and the creator Rob Liefeld says that this guy was supposed to be like a mix of Wolverine and Spider-Man. Spider-Man for the quips and Wolverine for the killer
Really,
instinct.
I thought I see more of like Marvel's answer to Deathstroke.
Well,
They're
that-
both
well, the
named
thing
Wade
is-
Wilson, Slade Wilson.
Well, that's the thing. So Rob Liefeld, who created the look for the character, was a big fan of the Teen Titans comic, and supposedly accidentally used Deathstroke as a muse for Deadpool. And when seeing it, Fabian the Nietzsche, I believe his name is, who was the actual writer, was like, "Bro, all you did was make Deathstroke," and instead of shying away from it, they just went into it, and then the writer goes, "Oh, then let's just call him Wade Wilson," and then they start going into it. And I read the first issue that he's in, which is New Mutants number 98, and he was joking in there. He wasn't fourth wall breaky, but he was definitely sarcastic, and he had his own stylized voice bubbles. So they were getting ready
he
for
might
that.
have not
from the get.
evolved till like maybe like the mid '90s, late '90s.
And he beat Deathstroke to a film. I mean, Deathstroke gets a post credit in Justice League, but he beat Deathstroke to film. So
Yeah,
did.
did.
It's crazy how that works. Like,
But I mean, if a Deathstroke movie came out during the same time, I'd go see both.
Yeah.
Just because, man, who wouldn't want to see a Deathstroke movie? The Terminator Deathstroke.
Did you hear my random crazy speculation for Deadpool 2?
No, but I would love to. My friend
I think Wolverine's in it.
You think so?
Yeah, whether it's a cameo or what, I think all the Hugh Jackman jokes from the first one, and now that he's like almost completely free from this one, it doesn't have to be a canonical Logan thing, but I just feel like you got to do it, and so
Did you see the video
Yeah,
of,
where he's
of
laying on his
Deadpool
bed?
in his bed just
Yeah.
singing?
I
So
thought that-
maybe.
I thought that was great. But the thing is, I'm in the business of speculating wildly because no one is going to hold me to it, especially on this podcast. So I say these crazy things, and if they're right, then I end up being Nostradamus, and if they're wrong, then it
Hey,
is
man,
what it is.
Everybody has fan theories.
So
Everybody does.
What do you got?
As far as fan theories go, I think they're definitely gonna have more. Not just Colossus and Negasonic. I think they might give us different either X-Men
Or X-Force members?
or X-Force members.
That'd be
Like,
pretty
wasn't
cool.
what isn't one of them isn't Bishop part of that?
I believe so. If not, he's part of X Factor. You know how they got like
Yeah,
X
man.
Factor.
Everything
and
is
all that kind of
X
stuff like
X
that.
X X X.
I know Laura X-23 eventually becomes that, so that'd be cool if they do a little joke on that.
Maybe and I hope this is hoping. This
Go
is
ahead.
not speculating. This
Yeah.
is just hoping.
Right.
I would hope that Omega Red is in this.
That would be amazing. I'm smiling from ear to ear because
Yeah, because like just imagine.
I have a coworker who's all about Omega Red for some reason. I guess he had a toy when he
Can
was
you
growing
imagine
up,
seeing
and he
Cable,
dug.
Omega Red?
Yeah,
the
you could probably
Domino.
do Lady Deathstrike too.
You
Throw
could
those.
you could probably be
throw
able to
those.
give us Sabretooth as a retconned character.
It's cool that you brought that up because I was gonna forget again for the second time the thing that I saw in the Deadpool trailer that might be alluding to what you were talking about, which is secret cameos, surprise cameos. supposedly, if you freeze a certain shot of Colossus throwing a right hand, he looks to be throwing a right hand
To
at
Juggernaut.
a Juggernaut-like figure, Juggernaut, who we last saw in X-Men: The Last Stand. Also, can be part of the superhero redemption because that wasn't all that great either. So he was actually more
Poor
of a
Vinny
meme.
Jones,
He was more of a
man.
meme than anything else in that. So maybe they get Vinny Jones again, but I would love to see Juggernaut in this film. We already got Cable, and Cable does time travel, so like I said, they can do a bunch of stuff to fix things, right the wrongs. But I am excited for this Deadpool 2 film, and I can't wait to sit here and review it.
I definitely am excited myself. It's just been a long time coming for myself because, like I said, I've followed Deadpool's rise and fall since 2009. From when they first said we're in post production, we're in writing, we're in talks, we're
Yeah,
in
yeah.
greenlighting in the contract negotiations. And every year I would talk to a friend of mine like, "Did you get any news yet? No. Did you? No." And when we finally got that test footage, we knew we was getting a Deadpool. I knew we was getting that movie. And then I don't care. Ryan Reynolds definitely leaked it. If not, it was Tim Miller. One of them leaked it.
Yeah.
And then went to thank Twitter fans, Facebook fans, Instagram fans.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds has said, if it wasn't for the fans, this movie wouldn't have been made.
And that's the thing. I'm a little worried, but there probably shouldn't be any reason to because Ryan Reynolds really deeply cares about this project, and it wouldn't have gone as far as it did without him. I cannot see anyone else playing the character.
Can you honestly, like, as of all the actors that you could think of your head, whether actiony, funny guys like Chris Pratt and all that, can you really see anybody else wearing that costume?
No, and the thing is, Deadpool comes out in the 90s and he gets his own series in the late 90s. Late 90s, I use the term, when I think of the late 90s, I use the term coined in the wrestling, attitude era. I think of everything trying to push the bar, Jerry Springer, everything in comics, Punisher, pouches and swords and grenades and mercenaries. Everywhere. So what do you do with a guy like Deadpool? You make him jokey because everyone is so serious. Everyone's an anti-hero. Everyone's covered in blood and has a shattered origin. So you joke around with this guy, and his ability to joke around makes him three-dimensional, makes him one of the most original comic book characters, even though he's legit a parody of somebody else. And then now one of the most legit comic book movie characters is Deadpool. I can't wait to see him join the franchise he's meant to join, the X-Men or the X-Force movies that will be coming out because Josh Brolin is signed for 4 appearances as Cable. 4. Say that. 4. Yes. 4. So we know we're either going to get Deadpool 2
Listen,
and 3.
we're definitely getting an X-Force.
Or X-Force 1, 2, and 3. Or Cable 1. Who knows?
Maybe they just give us, I don't think we should have I don't think Deadpool needs a trilogy. Really,
He
I would
doesn't
love
wanna do a
it.
trilogy.
I would love for there to be a trilogy. But I don't think there needs to be one for you to like truly appreciate the art of this film. But if we get only 2 Deadpool movies and then like 4 more X-Force movies, I will love it all. I'll eat it up. Yum yum yum. I'll eat it.
Yeah, I can't wait, and I can't wait for the jokes because now we've done run out of Green Lantern and X-Men Origins jokes. So what is he going to parody next? I hope he does a lot on the DC universe. You saw that in the trailer; he was joking on them there. We got some Thanos jokes, so we're getting some Infinity War.
We need a joke where he talks about like fighting vampires this one time in his life. Where I was just at a really like dark place in my life. I found a friend. I thought he was a friend. We went to go fight some vampires.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And he actually married like the bride of Dracula in the comics. Some kind of weird.
Deadpool has a
ethereal
very weird
vampire.
X list.
Yeah.
Like his exes are very
And
weird.
he loves death too.
It's not that he loves death. Death is like infatuated with this man.
It would be cool if they brought him up there because they didn't bring him up. They didn't bring her up in Infinity War. It'd be cool if they had the balls to do it and allude to any of that. But we'll see what happens with Vanessa. She's in the trailer, but very little, very little. So who knows what her overall arc is going to be, especially if he's putting this X-Force team together. But as far as teams are concerned, I love this team. The Comic Book Clique team, the Major Issues team. And if you like the things that we do here at Comic Book Clique, all you have to do is go to Facebook.com/Comic Book Clique, Instagram at Comic Book Clique, or use the hashtag Comic Book Clique to talk about all the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. And Comic Book Clique is what produces Major Issues, the podcast you're listening to right now. And you can hear Major Issues episodes anywhere podcasts are found. Podbean, Podcast Addict, iTunes. I think Apple Podcasts has a thing.
Yes. If you have an Apple phone, guys, all my users, if you have an Apple phone and there's a podcast app that's just sitting on your phone gathering dust, click on it. type in Major Issues Podcast, and there we are, front and row.
And if you have a good phone, all you have to do is go to Google and type in Major Issues Podcast. We will be the first link. It will say Major Issues Podcast by Comic Book Clique. Click on that and dive into now over 24 hours of content that we've created. This is episode, I want to say episode 23, 24.
I think this might be like 23, yeah.
Yeah, so yes, there's over 24 hours of content now. Dive into all of it. And I'm talking about like Valentine's Day stuff, Superman coverage. We did most of the
There's
Marvel
a lot
movies.
of movie reviews. There's trailer
Movie
reviews.
Comic book reviews. We broke down A Court of Owls. We broke down Dark Knight's Metal with
You have
Yogi
an Avengers
right here.
therapy session that you guys. I know it. I feel it. It hasn't been it's been 2 weeks, but you guys still need that therapy session.
Yeah, if you haven't heard our Avengers coverage and you need some therapy, go back and listen to that because we try to dive deep and try to give you guys the answers that you guys want. But we end up becoming a better podcast because of you guys out there.
That is 100% true.
And they're supporting, bro. All the numbers are rising. Our subscribers are growing every single episode. Avengers hit records numbers, and I hope everyone sticks around and decides to listen to the rest of it. We want to thank everyone who signed on this week, last week, anytime that you're listening to this. Thank you because you're allowing us to do what we love to do, which is talk about all this great comic stuff.
Remember, guys, of course, we do this for us, but we don't need to set up a podcast for it. I can just hang out with George. I can hang out with George the Don and just talk about this stuff. But we do it for you because we want to hear your thoughts, your opinions. So send us your thoughts, send us your questions, send us anything you want at comicbookclique@gmail.com, and we will do our best to answer any questions you have and bring them on to the next show. And if there's over hundreds of questions, listen, guys, I'm sorry if we can't get to everyone, but we will try and do our best to listen to everyone in the Comic Book Clique universe.
Yeah, but we are Comic Book Clique, us and you guys, so we need your support, we need your help, and we will be there every step of the way to keep reviewing all this great comic book media, so you guys won't be there alone. I'm telling you, we become the greatest thing to come to comics in the future. I've been to the future. This is exactly what happens. But we need to get there, and we need your help to get there. So the last thing I'm going to ask of you guys, and you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the sap. It was my birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
It was my birthday yesterday. If you're listening to this and you care about Major Issues or me at all, I asked for this as a birthday present. Go to iTunes. Rate and review us on iTunes. Please give us any kind of rating you want. If you want to give me what I want, give us a 5-star rating. But it's the quickest way that we can grow as podcasters.
It's the cheapest birthday gift you can get somebody.
It's absolutely cheap and really, really fast, especially if you have an iPhone. But rate and review us. It's the quickest way for us to grow our audience. It's the quickest way for us to get feedback on our podcasting style. It's the quickest way for us to grow as podcasters. So help us get where we need to go by giving us that input and do it. Do it for me. Do it for my birthday. I think that would be great. We got some great reviews so far, and hopefully we'll be able to read them on air soon. I know that we have great listeners in, like, Columbus, Ohio, of all places.
Really?
Yeah, Columbus, Ohio. We got some listeners who come from the UK. We got from all over the world, seemingly. So hopefully this keeps
You
growing.
guys are beautiful. This is great.
Yeah, it is great. I want to give a quick shout out to Ayana, Zaire, Malia, Little Jessie, Melissa, and Big Jessie, family members of mine that have done their part to spread the message of the major issues, because we're all a family, regardless. And so keep doing your part. We'll keep doing ours. And hopefully you guys will be here for the next episode, because I know we will. My name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don. This has been a complete Deadpool breakdown, right? Breakdown, recap.
Just a kind of a conversation to brush everybody's memory up to speed before Friday.
Exactly.
Because remember, this comes out on Wednesday. So Thursday really is when Deadpool honestly comes out. So you could listen to this while you wait to watch the movie.
And when you watch it, and guess what happens when you watch it? By the time you wait a couple days, there'll be a full review on it, and so you can hear our views on that movie. So make sure you tune into the next episode. But yeah, my name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don. This has been our Deadpool episode.
I am Dan the Comic Man, and it has been great being here with you, George.
It's
great being with the Comic Book Clique.
It's been amazing because even though we have major issues, because we always have major issues, we sit here. I'm just a guy talking to a guy. Wham!
Until we start talking about Logan. Then
I
it's
wish I
time
could
to go
play
somewhere
Careless
else.
Whisper at the end of this, but I can't. So,
Impromptu.
you are worthy. You are worthy.